Something I wanted to touch upon after seeing some debate in the comment section about is what events during the Dance of the Dragons will be House of the Dragons, Red Wedding kind of moment. What I mean by that is a shocking moment that can change the direction of the plot and for a lot of the audience is seemingly unexpected and comes out of nowhere. The Red Wedding was a huge moment for Game of Thrones as a show, and the impact it had and culturally is a large factor as to what helped propel the show to the heights of viewership it achieved. The show was popular before the Red Wedding, but it really helped Game of Thrones reach an even bigger mainstream audience and help create the trend of people recording reaction videos to big show plot twists and posting them online. What is great about the Red Wedding as a moment is that the show managed to recreate the same feeling I felt when reading it for the first time in the book, on screen for a much wider audience. While the Red Wedding may seem like an obvious plot twist when rewatching the show or rereading the book on a first viewing, or reading books for the first time, it was a groundbreaking TV moment. This has led to a lot of discussion about what this same impactful moment could potentially be for House of the Dragon, if there is one at all. While I don't think there is a single moment in the Dance of the Dragons that would reach the same cultural impact that the Red Wedding did, there are some moments that could function in a similar way and offer shock, surprise, and a level of excitement the Red Wedding offered fans in its aftermath, even if not reaching a wider mainstream audience. Now, some of the key battles in the Dance of the Dragons are often put forward. I think there are three that could fill the role in some way. The first would be the fish feed and the battle around the God's Eye, where in short, at the western shores of the God's Eye, the Green's forces, mostly Westermen, come across Lord Roderick Dustin and his Winter Wolves, who are fighting for the Blacks, who had combined his forces with Lord Frey and Red Rob Rivers from the south. Pate Lionslayer and Lord Biggleston, Chambers and Perrin locked him in. Lord Gabriel Grey, John Charlton and Benjicott Blackwood joined the northern armies and the other rivermen. The battle would be the bloodiest land battle in the dance, with hundreds dead. The visual image of the Greens slowly being pushed back into the God's Eye and the massacre that followed would bring up a mental image of something similar as the Battle of the Bastards in the main show. If done right, this would be horrific and harrowing to watch. But I think a big issue with this moment that this battle would face for a lot of casual viewers is the lack of main characters directly involved in the battle, giving them very little investment in it. This could be fixed by adding some other original characters, but I don't think that would be a good move. I did consider the idea they could find some way of combining the Butcher's Ball and Kristen Cole's death with the fish feed, therefore adding main characters into the peril of the battle. There is definitely some ways they could do this and compress the pace of the story a bit. However, I personally really hope they don't do anything like this, as the events of the Butcher's Ball on its own is one of my favourite parts of the Dance of the Dragons, and I think would make compelling TV on its own. But I think if you're looking for something horrific that flips the table of the war in a big way, I would put forward the first Battle of Tumbleton. However, I do think the second would most likely be in the final season of the show, specifically its aftermath. Tumbleton ticks a lot of boxes. It has dragons, main characters, a huge battle, followed by the most horrific sack of a town in the history of Westeros. A sacking so bad that the town would never recover and has been seen as cursed. The scale and horror of the sack of Tumbleton is unmatched. I think the issue of using a battle is it would be more like recreating the great battles from the main show, rather than a moment like the Red Wedding. So we're looking for an event that is not a full-scale battle, involves main characters, and can provide a shock to viewers, which is foreshadowed when you look back. The destruction of the Dragon Pit could work in this regard. It would be built up over several episodes, with the use of the shepherd and the final assault and killing of the dragons happening in the last 10 minutes. I imagine for fans of dragons, it could be quite a harrowing moment. There are two ways in which you could approach the moment. A fast-paced action sequence in line with some of the biggest battles. However, I think it would be more important to get across the hopelessness of the situation. This second approach could be slow burn, kind of like the destruction of the Sept of Baelor in the main show, with the sequence itself a slow burn before a sudden quick and fast moment of chaos. The problem is I still feel the Dragon Pit is way too obvious as a moment. The whole agenda of the Shepherd and his followers is to destroy the Targaryens and their evil dragons. We also have the death of Lucerys Velaryon, which is a pivotal moment in the dance, and in my view is what changes the conflict from a war of words to a bloody one, where no side really would end up winning. What I love about this moment is that George R.R. Martin takes a lot of time in Fire and Blood to set up the personal conflict between Aegon and Aemond with the Velaryon boys, specifically Aemond Aemon and his personal vendetta after losing his eye while claiming Vhagar at the hands of Lucerys. What is fantastic about this moment is it's like watching a car crash in slow motion, something I also felt reading and watching the Red Wedding for the first time. The moment Aemon goes to Storm's End to gain the Baratheons as allies, you know something is going to happen. Then when Lucerys appears in the sky on his dragon, with Vhagar sensing them coming before they are spotted, you know exactly what's about to go down. The actual fight between Aemon and Lucerys is fairly straightforward, with Lucerys never really standing a chance, but it would be the first real dragon-on-dragon combat we could see in the show, depending on how they handle the timeline, that is. The impact of this event is really what changed the Dance of the Dragons into an all-out war, with no backing down, and making it a really complex blood feud. But for me, there is only one clear choice, as I feel it is the only option that ticks all the boxes I'm looking for: the blood and cheese incident. The murder of Prince Jaehaerys is foreshadowed, but surprising and shocking in its manner and brutality. It becomes clear after Aemon kills Lucerys that Queen Rhaenyra will not let death of her son go unanswered, and makes it very clear it must be a son for her son. So it's obvious that something's going to happen. But the way it plays out with Helaena having to choose between the baby Maelor and the elder Prince Jaehaerys, making a mother choose which of her children is to die, is what makes it even more horrific. Then, the bait and switch of killing the much more aware Jaehaerys, rather than Helena's choice of Maelor. On top of that, you have Blood and Cheese taunting Jaehaerys before killing him, taking this even further. Everything about this screams Red Wedding vibes for me. The brutality of murdering a child, the taunting, making the mother choose. It is very George R.R. Martin, classic Game of Thrones, and it's the kind of plot twist that the wider casual audience loved about the show. There are so many great moments I'm looking forward to seeing on screen. There's one thing Game of Thrones as a TV show did right: it was creating a spectacle on screen, with its action and drama, barring the last season of course. And I'm sure all of the moments I've talked about in this video will be great on screen. But what I want to know is, what moments are you looking forward to seeing played out on screen in House of the Dragon? What do you think the Red Wedding moment will be? And finally, is there any event in the Dance of the Dragons you are worried might get cut from the show? Let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to each of you.